Hello everyone, Genki here. Spelltomes were introduced into the Elder Scrolls world through an Oblivion DLC. However, they didn't really add much, as people could just buy spells directly and then upgrade them using spellcrafting. Well, come Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, spellcrafting is gone, and buying spelltomes is the main way to learn spells. But that got me thinking, could I beat the game as a mage without reading spelltomes? Meet Stebrick. He dreamt of becoming a mage, but fate had cursed Stebrick with a special kind of arcanic dyslexia. He can still read books and notes, but for some reason, Stebrick was just incapable of absorbing the knowledge given through spelltomes. To add more to his bad luck, Stebrick was on his way to the chopping block. But then a dragon came out of nowhere, giving Stebrick a second chance at life. Thanks to his Dark Elf lineage, Stebrick not only had access to the basic flames and healing spells, he also had access to the Spark spell. Using the power of his tingly fingertips, Stebrick assisted the soldier Havar through Helgen Keep. While passing the torture room, Stebrick found himself a set of mage robes and a mage hood, boosting his magic pool and magicka regen. Once outside, we activated the mage stone, and then made our way to Riverwood. We sold our loot to Alvor the blacksmith, and bought a pair of steel boots and steel gauntlets. We're going to be rocking the Vigilant of Stendar look for a large part of this run. We then took on Embershard Mine for some easy loot and experience. However, the bandit kit only got us halfway to level 2. Destruction levels up really slowly in this game. We did use the money to buy the materials to make ourselves a mage backpack for more storage and magicka. We also made a trip to the Sleeping Giant Inn to make some potions, before heading up to Bleakfall's Barrow. After killing all the bandits outside, we made a trip back to Riverwood to sell our spoils, giving us a level in speed, and finally pushing us to level 2, where we immediately took the Novice Destruction perk. With sparks now costing half magicka, the bandits inside Bleak Falls went down more easily. The Frostbite Spider was more tanky though, forcing us to hide behind the doorway when we ran out of magicka. After a few seconds, the spider walked away, so we drank some potions and finished it off. We then showed off our fancy fingers to Ovalo Swift. For the Draugr section we switched to flames, as I was pretty sure Draugr were weak to fire. They got us to level 3, where we took Destruction dual casting. I never used dual casting before, so I did not expect to see a different hand gesture. It took me a while to get used to it, because my controller required me to press the left and right triggers in a specific way for the perk to work. With all the Draugr now turned into Kentucky Fried Chicken, we took on the boss of the dungeon, a Draugr Overlord. However, unfortunately for the Overlord, I had not figured out dual casting. We did run out of potions, but the Overlord was not a threat at all. We then made our way to the Right stables, in order to take the carriage to Winterhold. Stebrick could not do the Mage College questline, as halfway through, there is a Dwemer puzzle that requires Frostbite. However, he could at least enter the college and attend his first and only lesson. At the front of the college, Feralda required Stebrick to use an apprentice-level spell of a random school. If we didn't know the spell, she will sell it to us for 30 gold. Note, she sells the spell directly, not a tome to learn the spell. This allowed Stebrick to pass his entrance exam, where he was asked to summon a Flame Atronach. Having a summon a tank will certainly help Stebrick in his journey. We then talked to Maribel Irvine, who gave us a set of Novice Robes of Destruction, lowering our Destruction spell cost by 12%, while still giving us the boost to our magicka regen. We then attended our first lesson, where Tolfdir gave Stebrick the Lesser Ward spell. This ended Stebrick's tenure with the college, so we made our way back to Whiterun to give Farngard the Dragonstone and take on our first dragon. However, first, we did some disenchanting and hit level 4, where we took the first rank of the Enchanter perk. We then made a ring, giving us 24% more magicka regen. Myrmilnir was a fire dragon, so he resisted flames. We still summoned our Atronach because any damage was good damage. We then switched over to a combo of Sparks and Lesser Ward. Lesser Ward blocks dragon shouts, as long as the barrier is up before the dragon starts shouting. Being a Dark Elf, Stebrick also has fire resistance, but the less health potions we have to consume the better. When we finally got Myrmilnir to stop flying off, we took pot shots at him, hiding behind a structure to block his fire breath, until Irilith was finally able to get his attention, allowing us to finish off Myrmilnir. Back at Whiterun, Jarl Balgruuf told us that we were Dragonborn, and had been called to High Hrothgar by the Greybeards. However, before making our way to Ivarstead, we made a detour to White River Watch. We then made a trip back to Dragon's Reach to do some disenchanting, getting us to level 5, where we took the second level of the enchanter perk. We now made our way to Iverstead, taking out all the wolves in our path, and attempting to take on the Frost Troll. It took a lot of jumping around and avoiding attacks, but we managed to beat the troll with our flame spell. Once in Hrothgar, we were instructed to scrim at Ghost, and got to learn how to do the flash step from Bleach. We then got asked to recover an artifact of the Greybeards' former leader from his tomb. The necromancers at the entrance to Ustengrav were easy pickings with sparks. The Draugr were a little more of a challenge. We entered the tomb without magic potions. However, we did have a lot of health potions. So once out of magicka, we had to just start chugging potions like an alcoholic, as we attacked the Draugr with bursts of flames. This frantic style of fighting was our current best way to deal with the restless Draugrs, as they took close to a full magical bar to take down. With all of them gone, we plowed through the regular Draugrs and skeletons. The one fully grown frostbite spider did take us as long as a restless Draugr, but we were soon able to reach the tomb and be met with disappointment. Outside the tomb, we first made a trip to the Lord's Stone to give us a well-needed boost to our defense before heading back to Whiterun. We were then confronted by Mirak's cultists. However, they were no match for the town guards. At the blacksmith's shop, we bought a set of armor with a health enchantment. We then immediately disenchanted it and made a necklace giving us an extra 28 hit points. Back at Riverwood, we encountered Delphine, who wanted us to help her take out a dragon in order to prove we were Dragonborn. We got lucky, as Solaknir was spewing fire breath. He usually had frost breath when I fought him. He came out of the grave already fully scaled, so while we were not doing as much damage as we would if he was a skeleton, we managed to get through a quarter of his health before he took flight. He then aggroed on the Delphine, who was on the path up to the grave. With Delphine now able to tank for us, we were safely able to take out Solaknir. Next up was the Thalmor embassy. We brought back our flame atronach to distract the soldiers, as we attacked from behind. However, by the time we took out the first 2 soldiers, our atronach went down, leaving us alone with the Thalmor wizard. High elves have a weakness to magic, but the battle was really close. We then made our way into the courtyard. We got the first soldier down pretty quickly, but then came the second soldier and another wizard. The Thalmor wizards have all been using sparks, which decreases our magicka. This made our mission difficult, but we persevered. Then came Elwyn's Solar. We started by summoning our Flame Atronach, and then consuming our 1 potion of extreme magicka, fully restoring our magic pool. This helped us beat the soldier in Gisser. However, we ran out of magicka for Rolando. We shot at him with bursts of sparks, causing him to rush at us with his dagger. In a moment of desperation, Rolando managed to summon his Storm Atronach, but we soon took him out. We could not make our way into the torture room, and retrieved the Thalmor's dossier on Esbern. While attempting to get their trapdoor key and save Malborn, we hit level 7, giving us a free full magicka bar, which allowed us to overpower the Thalmor. Once outside, we put our new perk point into the first rank of the Alchemist perk. The Thalmor's info on Esbern suspected he was hiding in the rift and routways. The 2 bandits at the front were always a pain, so I summoned our Atronach to take aggro, as we hit them from the back with flames. When we encountered the Thalmor sent to find Esbern, they were surprisingly easier to take down than the ones back at the embassy, though it was probably because our Atronach lasted the whole fight this time. We then made our way down to Esbern, and convinced him to come back with us to Riverwood. There, he informed us of Skyhaven Temple in the Reach. When I do these runs, I always want to do something special, like some side quest related to the run. For this run, I decided to do a Creation Code quest that would give us some pretty cool armor. Inside the Silverblood Inn in Markarth, we could find a journal. This led us to a bridge where we found a ghost. The ghost then led us up a hill, past a freaking sabercat, around the Orc stronghold, and into a battle with some Forsworn. The ghost did not join us for the fight, but we did manage to get the Forsworn to aggro onto our Flame Atronach. This allowed us to take out the weaker Forsworn Ravager, but then the Briarheart and Shaman took out our Atronach. They were thankfully at partial health. Further up the hill, we could find a grave along with some dead bodies. This Creation Club introduces 3 different armor sets: Iron Spell Knight armor, Steel Spell Knight armor, and Ebony Spell Knight armor. The latter is what we're after, because it's enchanted. On the Shaman's body was a note, telling us they gave the heart of the dead knight to their mother, who was located at Karspire. This is why I waited until now to do this quest. I had doubts we could take on all the Forsworn by ourselves. Also, upon getting closer to the camp, we found the Forsworn camp being attacked by a blood dragon. In the 2 minutes and 45 seconds it took the Forsworn and Esbern to ground the dragon, we were attacked only once. I think the Creation Club quest must have messed with the dragon's AI. Delphine and Esbern then followed us up to the dragon's grave, helping us get an easy win against the dragon. We then finished off the Forsworn still left in the camp. Towards the back of the camp, there was usually a Hag Raven. Well, with this quest activated, the Hag Raven gets a name change, and is joined by some witches. You can see why I needed Delphine and Esbern. With the Hag Raven defeated, we could enter her camp, where we found a dead witch and a corrupt heart. The witch and the knight had fallen in love with each other, but the knight was commanded with taking out the Forsworn. I'm guessing the witch was intending to leave the cult, labeling her as a traitor. With the knight's corrupt heart, we can now return to the knight's grave. Here we have a choice. We have 2 choices of enchantments for the armor we get. If we purify the heart with the Shrine of Mara, we get an armor set with defensive enchantments, like a boost to heavy armor and stamina, while putting the heart in the grave will give us offensive enchantments, like a cut in our destruction spell cost and a magicka boost. The issue is that putting the heart in the grave will cause the knight to attack us. I wanted the offensive enchantments, so I prepared for battle. I drastically overestimated the knight. With him defeated, we could now loot his grave. As you can probably tell by the name, this armor is actually for a spell sword build, but these enchantments will still help us a lot. 70 extra magicka, 50 more carry capacity, and a 25% deduction to our destruction cost. Let's do a little drift check. Oh yeah, we look good. With our in-game armor now acquired, we made our way back to Karspire and into Skyhaven Temple, where Esbern told us we needed a shout to defeat Alduin, which meant a return trip to the Greybeards. However, first, we made a trip to the college to get some training in Conjuration. We had just enough money to get to 25 in Conjuration, meaning we could take Apprentice Conjuration when we leveled up. Back at Hrothgar, Arngir taught us how to scream at clouds, allowing us to ascend further up the mountain. We then got our butts whooped by ice wraiths, before making it to the top and meeting Paarthurnax. Paarthurnax informed us that in order to stop Alduin, we needed to get an Elder Scroll to be back in time to learn the Dragon Shout the ancient Nords used against Alduin. By heading north of the College of Winterhold, we could find Septimus Cygnus, who gave us the Attunement Sphere and Blank Lexicon we needed to get the Elder Scroll. Outside the ruins of Alftan, we reached level 9, where we, as I mentioned before, took the Apprentice Conjuration perk, lowering the cost of our Flame Atronach spell. This was needed. Dwarven spiders were proving to be really tanky. Also, does anyone know why this one Khajiit always has so much health? We soon encountered our first Dwarven spear, and it was about as I expected. We had to hop around so that the spear's aggro could switch from us to our Atronach. We could then start attacking it with flames. When our Atronach went down, the sphere was under half, but by just dodging its power attacks, we managed to take it out. Encounters with single Dwarven spiders we could actually take on solo. However, Dwarven spheres and groups of multiple spiders required our summoning our Atronach. We then reached the Thalmor section. Because of the difficulty of the robot section, we had used up all of our magicka potions, requiring us to avoid damage and naturally restore our magicka. This encounter did level us up, allowing us to take the first level of Juggernaut, improving our defense. We then soon found an alchemy station, allowing us to make more magicka potions with all the dwarven ore we found. We then got into the room with the Thalmor Skulker. The Skulker used sparks, which devoured our magicka pool, but I got an idea. I decided to use sparks as well. This depleted the Skulker's magicka pool, forcing it to use his sword, which we could just power through with potions. We then pressed our way forward, and decided to take on the Dwarven Centurion. With its slower speed, we could run and jump around the arena, attacking a Centurion with flames along with our Atronach, eventually taking it out. With the Centurion dead, we could take the lift out of the dungeon, where we made a quick trip to Dragon's Reach, just to disenchant a bunch of stuff in our inventory. We then headed back to Elftan, and made our way down to Blackreach. Except for a single farmer who got us to level 11, we just ignored all conflict, made our way to the Tower of Mazark, and retrieved the Elder Scroll. We took the well-fitted perk. Once outside, we ran around and took out some bandit camps for money. We then made a trip to the college, to this time get destruction training from Feralda, boosting our destruction to 48 and getting us to level 12. We took the impact perk, giving our spells the ability to stagger when dual casted. I love how this whole time, I still have not gotten augmented flames. Time for a fight with Alduin. We could see the impact perk potentially working, as we spammed sparks on Alduin. He kept pulling his head back to shout, but was either being staggered or was just out of magicka. Dragons shout using a magical pool, rather than a cooldown timer. There were times where Alduin tried to fly off, but we managed to hit him with Dragonborn before it got too far. We then just stayed behind these rocks and continued to shoot sparks. At one point, with Alduin at low health, Parthenax got on top of us, forcing us to move. But we just went behind the ward wall and pelted bolts of lightning from there until Alduin went down, giving us a first try victory. We know how to deal with the Peace Council, so that we could call Odiving, trap Odiving, and convince Odiving to take us to Skulldafen. The restless Draugr at the entrance of the dungeon required us to summon our Flame Atronach, but that was only because there were multiple of them. As we progressed through the dungeon, we found ourselves powerful enough to solo the Draugrs. If only I took a perk to increase my fire damage. Once outside, we beelined our way towards the portal and then Sovngarde. In order to beat Alduin, we needed to enter the Hall of Valor, which required battling this beefcake. Okay. First try soon. With the Hall of Valor now open, we could get the Ancient Nord heroes and begin our second battle with Alduin. With the Ancient Nords attacking Alduin in melee range, we could stay at a distance to spam sparks. This caused Alduin to only use a Storm Shout. Alduin never uses Frost or Fire Breath, until I ran out of magical potion, as I do. Alduin then started using his Fire Shout on the heroes, but even with us now just burst firing sparks, we can still get Alduin to stagger, eventually leading to his defeat. We beat Skyrim without using spell tomes. I know this was just a sparks only run with some extra steps, but I found it fun. I hope y'all did too. If you did, don't forget to give a like and maybe think about subscribing to the channel.